We're in the heat of the day, ladies and gentlemen. It's high 80s, low 90s, something like that. We're going to do a little taste test comparison, a couple of Stocky saws. I call them Stocky because they're running kind of sickly. We have a new 462, that's the R version of course, and we also have a new 461 R version as well. So I first ran a 462 back in November of 2017 actually, and I did a saw-off comparison with another Stocky 461 with a 32-inch bar and a pretty good size log, and they ran pretty much the same. What I noticed from that session was that the 462 is all on top. It doesn't really seem to have anything down low, which makes sense. It has a 70, well, 70, right. It has 72.2 cc's of displacement. It has a 52 millimeter bore, but a 34 millimeter stroke. So we get instantaneous RPMs, but it's lacking a little bit on the low side of things from what I can tell. Now, if we take a look at the 461, it has 76.45 cc's, and it has a 52 millimeter bore as well, but it has a 36 millimeter stroke. That's pretty standard, a pretty standard stroke length in a lot of the machines of today. 441, 044, 440, 372 has that as well, and obviously this saw does, and the 046. So pretty standard stroke number, and as far as that goes. I thought that they ran about the same in that session, and I thought that the 461 has a little bit more low end. You can apply a little more pressure in stock form to the pistol grip, and it'll keep kind of tracting along. I didn't think that with the 462, and so if we look at we're going to do a build on this. Actually, we're going to do a build on both of them, I guess, essentially. That's going to be my personal 461. And we're going to run them again, I guess, and see how they compare. I've managed to get a few tweaks into the process since back in November of 2017. And so I'm hoping that this one here is going to run at least as well as mine, if not a little bit better. So yeah, we're coming up on at least a year and a half of having some time to monkey around with them. Anyway, so Master Paint is going to help with the tack. We're going to do a rundown. We're going to run up 30-inch Oregon lightweight bar, full comp, Windsor chain on there. That's not a stock bar. You can't buy those. I made that's a make it in your shop kind of a deal. So there we go with that. And bar change in the middle. And we're at about 3,000 feet in elevation or so at this location. So let us see how we fare here. So if it's any indication of just how hot it is out here, we can see the Proposition 65 warning for California is peeling off in the sun. Yeah, it fluctuates a little bit. 13.65, I think it's the highest I've ever seen.
So that one can, during that run, it was consistently right around 10 grand. That one was consistently right around 9,000, but it would fluctuate between 8 and 7 when it really got bogged down.
Yes, sir. No, we're good. I think most people go to this fridge and get a soda, intermission, maybe some popcorn, I don't know.
Nobody really cares about this part?
No. I see guys doing saw testing and they use different chains and they try to make a fair comparison, and like, that's totally erroneous. There's no way you can do that. You have to use the exact same chain or forget it. Because I know from cutting logs for over 30 years that you can grind 2 or 3 or 4 chains at the same time and they don't all cut the same. They can all be brand new. You got to use the same chain. So we got a close-up on the new heavy-duty, tough guy looking clutch cover. It's a little bit more beefy as compared to the one that comes on the half-wrap version, and it actually does have a little bit bigger of a dust flap. Mine came in the half-wrap version originally, and I upgraded to this is the same as what comes on the rescue saw, although it's a little bit different configured as far as the accoutrements, let's say. But yeah, it's a little bit beefier, so it's a little nicer that way. I still think the industry standard clutch cover was the one that came on the 064s through the all those years, 044, any of those saws. That had the best chip management operation going on compared to this. You get stuff wooded up in there. It's not the best from my perspective. Now, one of the other things that we got to talk about, well, maybe I'll save it for the end. Catch those guys that are coming in from getting a soda. One thing I'll mention too, when we're tightening up the bar nuts, the chain will actually get a little bit tighter, about a half a driver or so. I like my chains running tight, about like that. You can just get them the drivers to clear the rails with the 2-finger pinch. Okay, so this still has the stops in the carburetor. I am all the way up against the stop in the high speed at this point, so that last readout is all we're going to get today. Yeah, I was going on a little bit. I guess we'll have like something in view there. Hang on, please. So, what we need to consider in this process is that is a Series 1 stratification process, which means that it's using exhaust. The 462, which we see right here, can we see that, is a second gen smog situation, and it's using raw air to stratify the charge. So we have raw air being introduced into the system. Technically it has a metered air leak. It's kind of a slight situation, but it is what it is. The other part of the equation with the m-tronic system, which is on the 462 and not on the 461, basically what's going on there is the servo in the carburetor in the 462 is metering the fuel at a certain ideal ratio, and what they're shooting for in these new smog saws in an effort to reduce hydrocarbons is around 15, I think. It's like 14.7 to 1 or something retarded. I've heard numbers as high as 17 to 1. That is really, really lean. The standard race application number, as far as I know, is around 13 to 1 fuel to air mixture. So 1 fuel, 13 parts air. I personally have been talking about the potential in the 461 for years and years and years, and I think that basically they have the upper hand once you do something to them besides besides leaving them in Stocky form. I know we're kind of running on here a little bit, but I think it's important to note that the potential's in the 461. I've been saying that for at least a year and a half, year and 8 months or something like that. The 462 claim to fame, it's like pretty much weightless, which is really awesome in some applications. I think if you're a arborist type guy, that might be a really good choice. You could use it in a tree without as much effort. I mean, we're talking 13.2 in half wrap version, mini dog, little clutch cover, versus the 461s come in at about 15.75, I think it is. So they're quite a bit heavier, but if you're going to do production cutting or you want all around grunt, definitely be siding with the 461. So I'm going to be curious to see how the times turn out here myself. Just because I'll interject the timed runs into the description area. And thank you for Master Peyton lending a helping hand in this operation. And thanks for watching as well. Have a blessed day wherever you might be on God's green earth.